Ethan Miller said, "No, this can't be right." His trembling hands hovered above the keyboard as the final line of numbers appeared on the screen. The office was silent, except for the low hum of machines, yet he felt an invisible roar pressing down on him. He scrolled quickly, eyes darting over figures he knew by heart, and there it was, a hidden folder buried beneath layers of encrypted files, his own name stamped across fraudulent invoices worth millions. Ethan's chest tightened as cold sweat slid down his back. He whispered, "They're framing me." He glanced over his shoulder, paranoid, certain someone was watching him from the dark glass walls that enclosed his cubicle. The clock ticked past midnight, a dull reminder of how alone he was in the sprawling corporate tower. He remembered his daughter's laugh, his wife's tired smile, and wondered if he'd ever see them again without fear. His phone buzzed on the desk, screen glowing with a blocked number. He froze, then swiped. A chilling voice said, "Stop digging, Ethan. Go home." The line went dead, leaving only silence and his pounding heartbeat. Ethan's breath came in short gasps. The walls seemed to close in, the soft corporate music playing through the speakers now an ominous dirge. He yanked out a flash drive, hastily downloading the files. His shaking hands fumbled, nearly dropping it as the progress bar crawled forward. Suddenly, the overhead lights flickered, then went dark. Emergency red lights bathed the room, turning familiar spaces into sinister shadows. The building security system announced, "Access restricted." Ethan's computer locked itself before the download completed. Panic surged through him like fire. Ethan ran for the elevator, clutching the flash drive, but his badge beeped red against the reader. He slammed his fist against the glass and whispered, "Dear God, what have I done?" The next morning, Ethan approached the revolving glass doors, trying to steady his breath. His badge, once a simple tool, now felt like a loaded weapon. He swiped. A loud beep echoed, red light flashing. People behind him murmured, growing impatient. A guard glanced up sharply, his hand resting near his radio. Ethan forced a laugh. Must be a glitch. His voice cracked, betraying his fear. The guard scanned him up and down, eyes narrowing, then said, "Step aside, sir." Ethan's stomach dropped as he moved out of the way, heat creeping up his neck. His co-workers streamed past without making eye contact. Sarah Collins, a colleague, looked briefly at him, then quickly turned away, her shoulders rigid with discomfort. Ethan whispered, "Don't do this, Sarah." The guard motioned for Ethan to wait. Moments later, 2 security officers arrived, flanking him. The taller one said flatly, "You'll need to come with us." Ethan clenched his fists, panic gnawing at his composure. He asked, "Can someone tell me what's happening?" Silence answered him. As he was led away, Ethan caught sight of his reflection in the lobby's pristine glass wall. A man already erased from his own life. The lobby's elegant music now felt like a cruel joke, a reminder of how quickly loyalty turned to suspicion. Ethan swallowed hard, knowing this was only the beginning. The corridor leading to HR felt longer than usual, the polished floors reflecting Ethan's distorted steps. He thought of his daughter's drawing tucked in his wallet, a fragile reminder of normal life. Inside the HR office, the air was stale and oppressive. Margaret Hayes, head of HR, sat behind an immaculate desk, her expression unreadable. Margaret said, "Please, have a seat, Ethan." Her tone was calm but laced with finality. Ethan obeyed, gripping the armrests. "Why am I here?" His voice quivered despite his effort to sound firm. Margaret slid a folder toward him. "We've received troubling reports regarding irregularities connected to your department." Ethan opened the folder. His breath caught, forged documents, falsified signatures, including his own. He shook his head violently. "This isn't me. Someone's setting me up." Margaret's eyes flickered, but her tone stayed neutral. "We take these matters very seriously." Ethan leaned forward. "You have to believe me. Please." Margaret's silence was louder than words. Finally, she said, "Consider this a chance to walk away quietly, Ethan." His world tilted. Walking away meant surrendering to the lie. Staying meant war. Ethan was escorted back through the hallway, the stares of coworkers burning into his skin like acid. Conversations hushed as he passed. He spotted Sarah near the coffee station. Their eyes met briefly before she looked away, guilt etched in her features. Ethan said quietly, "Sarah, please, you know I didn't do this." She shook her head slightly, whispering, "I can't get involved." The betrayal stung worse than Margaret's cold dismissal. Ethan's fists clenched, nails biting into his palms. As he was ushered toward the exit, he overheard two employees whispering, "He must have done something terrible." Ethan's jaw tightened. Lies traveled faster than truth, especially here. Near the lobby, his reflection again stared back at him, fragmented by the polished tiles, a man trapped between two worlds. The guard at the door didn't speak, just opened it with mechanical precision. Ethan stepped outside, the crisp air a shock against his overheated skin, a reminder that freedom was now an illusion. On the steps outside the building, Ethan stopped to catch his breath. The city moved around him, indifferent to his collapse. His phone buzzed again. Another blocked number. He answered, his voice sharp. "Who is this?" The same icy voice replied, "Last warning, Ethan. Stop asking questions." Ethan shouted, "Why me?" Passers-by stared, then hurried away. The line went dead. Ethan's knees buckled, but he forced himself upright. He gripped the flash drive in his pocket. This was proof, the only thing standing between truth and oblivion. He whispered to himself, "They think they can bury me. They're wrong." A storm broke overhead, rain pelting down, soaking him to the bone. Ethan stood defiantly against the storm, knowing his fight had only just begun. Ethan stumbled into his small apartment, clothes drenched, shoes leaving muddy prints on the worn carpet. The faint smell of coffee lingered, but the warmth of home felt distant and fragile. Claire Miller, his wife, rushed from the kitchen, her face etched with worry. She said, "Ethan, what happened? You're soaked and pale." Ethan dropped his briefcase on the floor, avoiding her gaze. "It's bad, Claire. Worse than I ever imagined." Their daughter Lily peeked out from behind a doorframe, clutching her stuffed rabbit, eyes wide with confusion. Ethan forced a weak smile. "Hey, sweetheart, it's okay. Daddy's just tired." Claire crossed her arms, trembling slightly. "Tired doesn't explain why you look like you've seen a ghost." Ethan sat heavily on the couch, burying his face in his hands. "They think I did something terrible. Something I didn't do." Claire's voice cracked. "Ethan, are we safe?" He lifted his head, eyes hollow. "I don't know anymore." The room felt smaller, the ticking clock louder. Home was no longer a sanctuary, but a fragile shield against a storm they couldn't see. Ethan whispered, "I need to figure this out before it destroys us." Later that evening, Ethan sat at the edge of Lily's bed, brushing damp strands of hair from her forehead. The storm outside rattled the windows, a steady drumbeat against his chest. Lily whispered, "Daddy, why were you crying?" Ethan forced a small laugh. "I wasn't crying, sweetheart. Just thinking too hard." She frowned, clutching her rabbit closer. "Did you get in trouble at work?" The question stabbed deeper than he expected. "A little," he admitted softly. Lily looked at him with innocent certainty. "You didn't do anything bad. You always tell the truth." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. He kissed her forehead, his voice breaking. "Thank you, Lily. That means everything." Claire stood silently in the doorway, watching, her face a mix of love and fear. Ethan tucked Lily in carefully, pulling the blanket to her chin. "Sleep now. Daddy's here." As he turned off the light, he vowed silently to protect her no matter the cost. The storm raged on, matching the turmoil in his heart. The next morning, Ethan stared at the pile of unpaid bills on the kitchen table. Overdue notices screamed in red, a stark reminder of how fragile their life had become. Claire sat opposite him, hands wrapped around a chipped coffee mug. "We can't keep up like this, Ethan. What's happening at work is tearing us apart. Ethan rubbed his temples, exhausted. If I don't clear my name, we'll lose everything. Claire's voice trembled. What if clearing your name costs you your life? He slammed his fist lightly on the table. Then at least Lily will know I didn't give up. Claire's eyes filled with tears. We need you here, not in some fight you can't win. Ethan took her hand gently, his tone softening. I'm already fighting for us, Claire, for her future. Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken fears. The ticking kitchen clock marked each passing second like a countdown to disaster. Ethan stared at the bills again, determination hardening his features. At lunch, Ethan met Sarah Collins in a quiet corner of a nearby cafe. The clinking of dishes and murmurs of other patrons felt far away. Sarah looked around nervously before whispering, "You shouldn't have called me. They're watching everyone." Ethan leaned forward, desperation etched on his face. "I need someone who believes me. You saw the numbers, Sarah. You know I didn't do this." She bit her lip, torn. "I did, but they've made it clear what happens to people who speak out." Ethan's voice sharpened. "So you'll let them ruin me?" Sarah glanced at the door, fear in her eyes. "I have a family too, Ethan." His shoulders slumped. "We all do. That's why I have to fight back." For a moment, she reached across the table, touching his hand. "Be careful, please." Ethan nodded, gratitude and heartbreak mingling. "I will." As Sarah left, Ethan sat alone, realizing just how isolated he truly was. That night, Ethan sat alone at the kitchen table, the flash drive lying in front of him like a loaded gun. The house was silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator. He whispered to himself, "This is all I have left. My proof, my weapon." Claire appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "Ethan, come to bed. You need rest." He shook his head. "If I sleep now, they win." Claire's voice broke. "I'm scared. For you, for Lily, for us." Ethan stood, pulling her into a tight embrace. "I'm scared too, but I can't stop now." She buried her face against his chest. "Just promise you'll come back to us." He kissed the top of her head, whispering, "I promise." As Claire left, Ethan sat again, staring at the flash drive. Determination flared like a spark in his weary eyes. The fight had truly begun. The office was deserted, bathed in a dim blue glow from the emergency nightlights. Ethan slipped in after hours, heart pounding like a drum. He moved quietly past rows of silent cubicles, every shadow a potential threat. Ethan muttered, "Come on, just 5 minutes." His voice was barely a whisper. He reached his department's file room, a place he once trusted, now sinister in its silence. The filing cabinets were locked, but one drawer hung slightly ajar, papers spilling out like a wound. He knelt, sifting through documents, his breath quickening as he recognized financial reports altered to hide massive losses. Ethan whispered, "This is it. Proof." Then he saw a shredded paper in the trash bin, evidence destroyed before it could reach him. The door creaked behind him. Ethan froze, pulse racing. When he turned, no one was there. Just the faint echo of footsteps retreating down the hall, leaving dread behind. The next morning, Ethan walked into the break room forcing a smile. Conversation stopped instantly. A group of co-workers stood clustered near the coffee machine, their laughter replaced by silence. He greeted them softly, "Morning." No one answered. They exchanged uneasy glances instead. Mark, a co-worker he'd known for years, turned away abruptly, muttering, "I can't get involved." Ethan's throat tightened. "Mark, please, just hear me out." Mark shook his head without looking back. "Don't drag me into this, Ethan." The others shuffled away, their footsteps echoing like condemnation. Ethan stood alone, surrounded by whispers he couldn't hear but could feel cutting into him. The isolation was worse than anger. It was erasure. By afternoon, Ethan was summoned to HR again. Margaret Hayes sat behind her pristine desk, a thin folder in front of her. She said smoothly, "Ethan, we've reviewed your performance over the past quarter." Ethan's eyes narrowed. You're not here to talk about performance, are you? Margaret's smile was cold. We've noticed some irregularities, missed deadlines, insubordination. Ethan slammed his palms on the desk. This is retaliation. You know it, and so do I. Margaret didn't flinch. Careful, Ethan. Words like that can hurt you more than help. His voice cracked with anger. I've given this company 10 years. And now you're painting me as a failure? Margaret closed the folder gently. Consider this a formal warning. One more incident, and you're done here. Ethan's fists trembled. You're trying to break me. Margaret's expression remained unreadable. We're trying to protect the company. That evening, Ethan sat across from Claire at their small dining table. Lily was in bed, leaving a heavy silence between them. Claire said softly, Lily asked why you've been so sad lately. Ethan's throat tightened. I'm trying to protect her from this mess. Claire's eyes shimmered with tears. And what about me, Ethan? Do I get protection too? He reached across the table, taking her trembling hands. I'm doing this for us, Claire. For our future. Her voice hardened. Your future, maybe. Ours is crumbling right now. Ethan's shoulders slumped. If I stop, they win. They bury me. And the truth. Claire pulled her hands back, shaking her head. Sometimes survival matters more than truth. Ethan looked at her, pained. Not to me. The distance between them felt like an unbridgeable chasm. Outside, the wind howled like a warning neither could ignore. Desperate for hope, Ethan met journalist Daniel Reed in a dark corner booth of a run-down diner. Daniel, a sharp-eyed man with a worn leather notebook, leaned forward. You've got evidence. Ethan slid the flash drive across the table. Everything they've done is on here. Daniel's brow furrowed. If this is real, it's explosive. But you'll be risking everything. Ethan's laugh was bitter. I've already lost everything that mattered. Daniel studied him carefully. Once this goes public, there's no going back. Ethan nodded. I don't want to go back. I want the truth out there. The clatter of dishes and chatter of other patrons faded, leaving only their voices. Daniel pocketed the drive. I'll look into it. Stay safe, Ethan. Ethan exhaled slowly, feeling both relief and dread. The first step toward war had been taken. Ethan paced nervously in the dim parking garage, cold air biting his skin. Sarah's text had been urgent. Meet me alone. Her footsteps echoed before she appeared, clutching her purse tightly, face pale. Ethan said, Sarah, thank God. I need someone I can trust. She wouldn't meet his eyes. Ethan, there's something you need to know. Confusion twisted in his gut. What is it? Her voice cracked. I've been reporting to Margaret. Everything you've told me. I passed along to them. The words hit like a physical blow. Ethan staggered back, breathless. You? After everything we've been through? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I didn't have a choice. They threatened to fire me, blacklist me. Ethan's voice rose, trembling with fury. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed the truth. Sarah whispered, I'm sorry. Ethan turned away, his world collapsing. Sorry won't save us now. The next day, Ethan entered his office to find chaos. His computer was gone, drawers emptied, papers scattered like a crime scene. Margaret Hayes stood waiting, her expression icy. Ethan said, What the hell is this? Margaret replied smoothly, An internal audit, Ethan. We've discovered damning evidence, all tied to you. She held up a folder thick with forged reports. Ethan grabbed it, flipping through pages. These are fake. You know they're fake. Margaret's tone remained calm. From where we stand, this is irrefutable proof of fraud under your supervision. Ethan's chest heaved. You're setting me up to protect the real criminals. Margaret stepped closer, voice low. Watch your words. The board won't take kindly to slander. Ethan's fists clenched, nails digging into his palms. I won't go down quietly. Margaret smirked. Oh, you'll go down, quietly or otherwise. That evening, Ethan sat at his dining table, head in his hands, while Claire hovered nearby. He whispered, "It's worse than I thought. The corruption goes all the way to the top." Claire's eyes widened. "How high?" Ethan lifted his head, despair etched in every line of his face. "The CEO, the board, everyone I thought untouchable." Claire clutched her chest, horrified. "Ethan, if they're involved, they'll stop at nothing to silence you." He nodded grimly. "I think Sarah's betrayal was just the beginning." Claire's voice shook. "Then we need to leave, tonight." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Running won't solve this. They'll hunt us wherever we go." Claire's tears fell silently as she whispered, "Then what do we do?" Ethan stared at the flash drive on the table. "We fight, even if it kills me." Ethan met Daniel Reed in the same diner, hope clinging to him like a frayed thread. He said urgently, "Did you see what was on that drive?" Daniel nodded, expression unreadable. "I saw it." Ethan leaned forward. "Aye. Then you know what they're doing. We can blow this wide open." Daniel's smirk was chilling. "Slow down. Information like this, it's valuable." Ethan froze. "Valuable? This is about justice, Daniel." Daniel shrugged. "It's also about leverage. Careers are built on stories like this." Ethan's stomach turned. "You're no better than them." Daniel's tone was cold. "Better? No, smarter. Absolutely." Ethan grabbed the table edge, knuckles white. "You were supposed to help me." Daniel stood, slipping the flash drive into his pocket. "I am helping myself." Ethan sat in stunned silence as Daniel walked away without looking back. 2 days later, a knock thundered at Ethan's door. He opened it to find a courier holding a large envelope stamped with legal insignia. The man said flatly, "You've been served." Ethan ripped the envelope open, scanning the papers. "Ah!" His stomach dropped. Claire appeared behind him, alarmed. "What is it?" Ethan's voice cracked. "They're suing me for defamation and breach of contract." Claire gasped, hand over her mouth. "But that's insane." Ethan crumpled one page in his fist. "It's a silencing tactic. If they bury me in lawsuits, I can't fight back." Claire clung to his arm, trembling. "How do we stop them?" Ethan stared at the storm outside, determination replacing fear. "We don't stop them. We outlast them." Ethan sat alone at the kitchen table, the glow of his laptop reflecting in his tired eyes. The flash drive lay beside him, a symbol of everything he'd risked. He whispered, "This is it. No more hiding." Claire stood in the doorway, arms folded tightly across her chest. "Ethan, think carefully. Once you release those files, there's no undoing it." He looked up, determination in his gaze. "They've taken everything. If I don't fight back now, they win." Claire's voice broke. "And what about us? What if they come after Lily?" Ethan's throat tightened. "That's why I have to do this, for her future." He began encrypting the files, fingers flying over the keys. Claire stepped closer, tears brimming. "Promise me you'll stay safe." Ethan paused, then said softly, "I'll try. But safety isn't guaranteed anymore." The upload bar appeared, creeping forward. Outside, distant thunder rumbled like a warning from the storm to come. In a cramped law office, Ethan sat across from his attorney, David Carter. David, adjusting his glasses, said, "Ethan, they're going to come at you with everything they've got. Are you ready for that?" Ethan nodded firmly. "I don't have a choice. If I stay silent, they destroy me. If I speak, maybe I have a chance." David leaned forward, voice grave. "Once you testify, they'll try to discredit you. They'll smear your name until no one believes you." Ethan's hands trembled slightly as he clasped them together. "Then I'll stand on the truth. That's all I've got left." David sighed deeply. "You'll need more than truth. You'll need composure, evidence, and allies." Ethan pulled a small notebook from his pocket. "I've documented everything. Dates, names, transactions." David took the notebook, scanning quickly. This might just keep you alive in court. Ethan exhaled, a mix of fear and resolve. Then, let's do this. The room felt like a bunker before battle, heavy with tension and purpose. The courtroom buzzed with low murmurs as Ethan entered, escorted by David. Rows of reporters filled the benches, cameras clicking like gunfire. Margaret Hayes sat at the defense table, immaculate and unshaken, flanked by corporate lawyers. Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. David whispered, "Stay calm, speak only truth." The judge called the room to order. Silence fell like a blade. As Ethan took the stand, he gripped the railing tightly. The opposing lawyer, a sharp-featured man, smirked. "Mr. Miller, you claim to have evidence of corruption. Why should we believe you?" Ethan met his gaze steadily. "Because I've lived it. Because I have the files and the scars to prove it." The lawyer scoffed. "Or maybe you're just a disgruntled employee seeking revenge." Ethan's voice rose with emotion. "I'm seeking justice for everyone they've hurt." The room stirred, tension crackling like electricity. The lawyer slammed down a stack of documents. "These show your signature on multiple fraudulent reports." Ethan's eyes widened. "Those were forged. I never signed them." Margaret's face remained neutral, but her eyes glimmered with cold satisfaction. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Miller, can you prove that claim?" Ethan reached into his folder, pulling out his evidence. "Yes, metadata from the company servers proves my signature was copied and altered." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Margaret's lawyer leaned forward, furious. "That's circumstantial at best." Ethan slammed his fist on the stand. "It's the truth, and I won't let you bury it." David stood beside him, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. "Your Honor, we request these files be admitted into evidence immediately." The judge nodded gravely. "So ordered." Margaret's composure finally cracked, a flash of fear crossing her face. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed like a storm. Ethan shielded his face as cameras flashed. Questions hurled from every direction. One shouted, "Ethan, do you think you'll win this case?" Ethan paused, then answered loudly, "This isn't about winning. It's about exposing the truth." Behind him, Claire clutched Lily's hand tightly, guiding her away from the chaos. David whispered to Ethan, "You made an impact today, but they'll strike back hard." Ethan nodded, jaw set. "Let them. I'm not afraid anymore." Suddenly, Margaret emerged from the building, surrounded by security, her expression murderous. Their eyes met for a single electrifying moment, predator and prey locked in silent war. As Margaret disappeared into a waiting car, Ethan exhaled sharply. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, he felt ready. The morning news blared from every channel, headlines screaming of corporate scandal. Anchors repeated Ethan's name, pairing it with words like courage and controversy. Claire stood in the living room, remote clutched tightly. She said softly, "It's everywhere, Ethan." Ethan appeared in the doorway, exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. "They can't bury it now." Claire turned to him, voice trembling. "But at what cost? Our faces are plastered across the country." Ethan exhaled heavily, sinking onto the couch. "I didn't want fame. I wanted truth." The screen showed footage of the corporation's stock plummeting, executives avoiding cameras. Claire whispered, "You've shaken them." Ethan rubbed his temples. "And they'll hate me for it forever." The laughter of Lily echoed faintly from her room, a reminder of why he started. For the first time in weeks, Ethan allowed himself a small, tired smile. At least she'll know her dad didn't stay silent. A week later, Ethan received the call he dreaded. His employment was officially terminated. The HR voice on the line said, "Your severance package will be mailed." Ethan replied bitterly, "Severance for loyalty, how generous." Claire listened from the kitchen, her face pale, whispering, "What will we do now?" Ethan hung up, leaning against the wall, his legs threatening to give way. "We survive, somehow." Bills piled high on the counter, reminders of their fragile stability. Claire crossed the room, gripping his arm tightly. I don't care about money, I just want you alive. Ethan kissed her forehead gently. Alive, yes. Whole. I'm not so sure anymore. Silence filled the room, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. Even in victory, the price felt unbearable. That night, Ethan tucked Lily into bed. She looked up at him, innocence in her eyes. Daddy, why do people on TV call you brave? Ethan smiled faintly, brushing her hair back. Because I told the truth, even when it was hard. She hugged her rabbit tighter. Did it make the bad people go away? Ethan's throat tightened. Some of them, yes, but there will always be more. Lily frowned, thoughtful. Then you'll have to keep being brave. Tears pricked his eyes as he kissed her forehead. Maybe one day you won't have to be. Claire watched quietly from the doorway, her expression softening. The storm outside had finally broken, leaving only the sound of rain against the window. Ethan whispered, "Good night, sweetheart." Her reply was simple but steady. "Good night, Daddy." Later, Ethan sat alone on the balcony, the city lights sprawling beneath him. The night air was cold, biting at his skin, but he welcomed the sting. He whispered to himself, "I won, but I lost too." Images of the courtroom, Sarah's betrayal, Daniel's smug face replayed like ghosts. Every sacrifice carved deeper lines into his weary features. Claire opened the sliding door gently. "You should come inside. It's late." Ethan shook his head. "I need the quiet, just for a moment." She stepped forward, draping a blanket over his shoulders. "You're not alone." He glanced at her, gratitude softening his hardened eyes. "I know. That's why I'm still standing." The city hummed below, indifferent, as their small world fought to rebuild. Days later, Ethan walked past a newsstand. Newspapers bore his face beside bold headlines. Strangers glanced at him, some with admiration, others with suspicion. A vendor muttered, "That's him, the whistleblower." Ethan lowered his gaze, pulling his coat tighter. He whispered, "Hero or traitor? Depends who you ask." Passing a mirror in a storefront, he paused, staring at his own reflection. For a moment, he barely recognized the man looking back, older, scarred, but unbroken. Claire called from ahead, "Ethan, come on." He caught up, slipping his hand into hers. As they walked away, the reflection lingered in the glass, a reminder of what was lost and what was gained. Ethan sat at the desk in his dim apartment, a single lamp casting long shadows across scattered papers. He pulled out a clean sheet, his hand trembling as he began to write. "To whom it may concern," he whispered, his voice breaking. Claire appeared in the doorway, her voice soft. "Ethan, what are you doing?" He looked up, eyes glassy. "I'm writing my resignation. They may have taken my job, but they'll never take my voice." Claire stepped closer, tears welling. "You don't have to do this alone." Ethan forced a faint smile. "I'm not. You're with me." His pen scratched across the page, each stroke heavy with finality. When he signed his name, the silence in the room deepened. He set the letter on the desk, whispering, "This ends with me standing tall." Late at night, Ethan's phone rang, its vibration rattling against the wooden table. He glanced at the screen, blocked number. His chest tightened, but he answered anyway. "Hello?" A long silence followed, the static loud in his ear. Then a familiar chilling voice whispered, "It's not over, Ethan." His grip on the phone tightened, knuckles white. "Do what you want. You can't silence the truth." The line went dead, leaving only the hollow echo of his words. Claire rushed in, alarmed. "Who was it?" Ethan lowered the phone slowly. "No one, just shadows." But his eyes betrayed the truth. The war was far from finished. The next morning, Ethan walked past a newsstand. Bold headlines shouted corporate giant crumbles under scandal. He stopped, staring at his own photo on the front page. A passerby whispered, "That's him, the whistleblower." Another muttered, "Hero or traitor, depends who you ask." Ethan's chest tightened, but he kept walking. He whispered to himself, "Let them decide. I know who I am." Claire, walking beside him, slipped her hand into his. For a fleeting moment, the noise of the world faded. Lily's laughter rang out as she skipped ahead, innocent and unburdened. Ethan smiled faintly. At least she'll grow up knowing her father fought back. In a gleaming lobby downtown, new recruits gathered, buzzing with excitement. Corporate banners still hung proudly, as if nothing had happened. Executives shook hands, smiling for the cameras, their polished shoes clicking across marble floors. Ethan stood outside, watching through the glass. His reflection stared back at him, fractured by the panes, as though he were both inside and out. He muttered, "They don't stop. They just replace and rebuild." Claire touched his arm softly. Then what was it all for? Ethan's jaw tightened. For the ones who'll come after, so they'll know someone tried. He turned away, refusing to give the corporation the last word. The city swallowed him as he walked into the crowd. That night, Ethan sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the signed resignation letter. He picked it up, then set it back down with finality. His voice barely a whisper. It was worth it. Claire entered quietly, resting her hand on his shoulder. He looked up at her, eyes tired but steady. No more words were needed. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence, steady and unbroken. In that quiet, Ethan realized the fight was no longer about victory. It was about survival, dignity, and leaving a mark that couldn't be erased. The screen faded to black, the silence louder than any words.